The latest venture which we want to take is the Assist PD program. All of us know that once a person gets an advanced kidney failure, there are two modalities of treatment available. That is either dialysis or to go for a kidney transplantation, which is a curative form of treatment. When we talk of dialysis, the average man knows only about hemodialysis, where he has to go to the hospital twice or thrice a week, where the blood is removed, purified and returned back to the patient. The patient, in 4 hours time, what accumulates in 2 or 3 days is removed. So the patient often feels tired after the session of hemodialysis and has to travel to the hospital every alternate day, maybe with an attendant, and spend, although the dialysis itself may be 4 hours, he has to spend about 8 hours. The blood is also removed, so there is a blood loss in every dialysis. So they have to take costly injections to keep the hemoglobin. These are called erythropoietin injections. So hemodialysis can disturb somebody's normal routine, the family's normal routine. And there is an incurring recurrent cost. There are a number of subsidized units being run in this country where hemodialysis has been run at a very low cost. Unfortunately, the quality often gets compromised because we have to reuse several of the disposables, especially the dialyzers and tubings. That could result in poor quality of life for the patient and also sometimes transmission of infections between patients. So what is more important is to give a treatment which a patient can do himself at home. This is called the CAPD, or the continuous ambulatory peritoneal dialysis. It's called continuous because it's a slow process which is done over 12 to 24 hours. And it is ambulatory, where the person is quite ambulatory, he can go for his work, everything. And it's a peritoneal dialysis. It does not involve the blood. It involves a tube being placed into the abdomen. That is called the peritoneal space. What we do is to put a tube into this space, and every time the person puts in about 2 liters of fluid inside. Believe me, it's quite comfortable to have 2 liters, because during normal pregnancy, women almost have 10 liters and still they do not feel that uncomfortable. So 2 liters is not a big amount of fluid that remains in the abdomen. So they keep it for about 4 to 6 hours and then drain it out. The process of putting in and draining takes about only half an hour. So a person has to do 3 times a day, half an hour, 3 times a day, at his convenience. For example, somebody is going to his office. He gets up in the morning, he lets out the fluid, puts in a new fluid, then goes to his office, works for 8 hours. Or during lunchtime, he has half an hour, he can do an exchange. This is called an exchange. You drain out the fluid and put in the fluid, it's called an exchange. So either you can do it in office, or if it is not possible, come back home and do it again 2 cycles in the night. So this way you can adjust. There is a lot of flexibility of your timing. So you can almost do all the work that you want comfortably. It's even possible to do the peritoneal dialysis only at night, so that the whole daytime is free for you. It also allows the person to lead a normal life. So you don't have to go to the hospital twice or thrice a week. So the visits to the hospital may come down to just once a month. And since blood is not being removed, the blood loss on this dialysis process is quite low. So the hemoglobins are well maintained. Many of the patients who have experienced peritoneal dialysis do not want to go back to hemodialysis. So it's a home-based therapy. So one of the biggest problems with this home-based therapy is somebody's reluctance initially. Can I do it at my place? I'm not that hygienic. What about infections, etc. They think that it is necessary to do all procedures in the hospital. But it is quite safe. The chance of getting an infection is about 1 in 5 years, about 50 to 60 months of dialysis. So it's not common to have infections, and there are no cross infections with other patients, so you don't come in contact with other patients. About 90% of the patients do well on peritoneal dialysis. I would say that all patients would do well on peritoneal dialysis. 10% may have problems. The fluid may not drain well, or an occasional infection could happen, etc. But about 90% will do well on peritoneal dialysis and they get rehabilitated well. One of the challenges in peritoneal dialysis is, apart from the fact that we have to remove the fear of people doing a procedure at home, is the cost. Fortunately, the cost right now is almost equal or less than hemodialysis. If you consider weekly 3 times hemodialysis, person going to the hospital, taking injections for forming blood, etc., the cost comes anywhere between 20 to 30,000 per month. In peritoneal dialysis, again, it comes to about less than 20,000 rupees per month. So cost-wise, it's not as bad. If you consider other countries, peritoneal dialysis is much cheaper than hemodialysis. For that matter of fact, 3 countries in the world, Thailand, Hong Kong and Mexico, have what is called PD first policy. That means the government says, in all these countries, the government sponsors the treatment. So the government says that if a person has a kidney failure, he will be put on peritoneal dialysis only and not on hemodialysis unless the PD does not work. So this is called, or for a medical reason he requires hemodialysis. So this is called PD first policy. With that, you find that almost 90% of the patients are on peritoneal dialysis. So the government finds it much easier to rehabilitate patients with kidney failure with peritoneal dialysis. So you find that in Thailand, where this PD first policy was implemented a couple of years back, about 50,000 patients are on peritoneal dialysis. Only about 10,000 are on hemodialysis. In our country, it is the reverse. About 50,000 or more are on hemodialysis, whereas only less than 10,000 are on peritoneal dialysis. So we have to create first an awareness that it is possible to treat yourself, even if you have kidney failure, at home. And you can do all your normal work at a moderate cost.